Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system. Where's the spiral arm? You said a spiral
The
arm?
Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy in the solar system, Sol. It's you and me talking about football.
Yes, here we are, and we are on Strictly Football, and we are excited to once again. This is episode 3, Mike.
Yeah, by the way, it's totally my fault we're late because I couldn't get my sound straightened up so I could listen to hear Brian. So,
Hey, no worries.
Yeah, week 3, man. We made it to week 3. Here we are.
Yeah, thanks for being a part of it again. And I mean, where shall we start? I mean, we're kind of in between weeks 2 and 3 now. I think we're starting to get an inkling of what these teams are. We don't know after 2 games.
No.
But now we have a bit of a track record, and across the league, we're seeing different kind of play than we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of trying to figure out, has the league changed? Is this just an early season tweak because of the fewer preseason games?
Yeah.
I guess maybe let's start there. Just in general, like touchdowns are way down, quarterback play is down. What do you make of this?
Well, I think it's just they don't hit anymore in training camp. There used to be 2-a-day padded practices. Now there's 1 or 2 padded practices a week. Everything else is in shorts and shells. The defenses are ahead of the offenses like they usually are, because there's not that many new offensive coordinators in the league. That's one thing. And you combine those with the fact that defenses always start the season ahead of the offenses. They always do, because the offenses take practice and precision, and the players just don't get that much. I mean, this new collective bargaining agreement, these recent ones, are just terrible for the quality of football, especially early in the year. It just doesn't, this is what you get. This is what you get when guys don't hit anymore. And, unfortunately, I think it's going to be this way for another couple of weeks before players get into football shape and offenses start to figure out what they do well and that kind of, start executing properly. So here we are. Week 3 starts tonight, Jets and the Patriots. Who you got in this one? I'm just out of curiosity. Who you got, Jets or Patriots?
I mean, that's a great question. Should we start making our picks?
No. Well, let's save that for the end like you usually do. But yeah, I'm just wondering tonight, you like Aaron Rodgers and the Jets at home, or you like Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots on the road?
I am. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Rodgers at home. I am.
Yeah, me too. I think we're in agreement on that one.
Yeah, I sort of have a feeling. I don't know how else to kind of describe it. I think they're kind of due. I mean, New England's 1-1. The Jets are 1-1. Neither have looked fantastic. Neither have looked flat out terrible, I don't think.
No.
Well, you're going Jets as well, probably.
Yeah, I'm going to be going Jets. Hi, Jane Meyer. How are you? I'm going Jets too, just because it's Aaron Rodgers and it's week 3 and the Jets this is their home opener. And it was really interesting because I heard Robert Saleh, who I think is one of the worst coaches in the NFL, if not the worst, was saying, look, the Patriots basically do the same things on defense they always did under Bill Belichick, because Gerard Mayo played in Bill Belichick's defense. So they know what to expect on that side of the ball. And I think if you've got Aaron Rodgers and you kind of know your opponent, you're going to do good. So, that's how I'm going to go with it tonight. But let's look back at week 2. Why don't we start with your Browns? Why don't you tell me what happened in that game and how you're feeling about your team at this point?
Yeah, I could talk to you about it. I mean, look, the Browns had, I think it was a 16-play drive and then a 9-play drive. At the beginning part of that game. The Browns were moving the sticks. They weren't inflicting too many penalties on themselves. They only got 1 touchdown. That was a rushing touchdown from Deshaun Watson. And I mean, the Browns had a 13-3 lead in the first half, and it was purely dominant. And then the second half, some weird stuff started happening. I think there were 3 or 4 penalties in a row. I think we ended up 2nd and 45, something stupid. It was play back to back. And really the play calling tightened up, and the defense had a moment or two, and suddenly before you knew it, the Jaguars were right back in this game. And this is the type of game that the old Cleveland Browns would find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But Corey Bojorquez had the perfect punt ever. It landed at the 1 and it bounced completely 90 degrees, went out at the 2-yard line, setting up a safety for the Browns to get that 2 points and the ball back. And it's like, hey, we can wrap this up. And then it was just a series of We couldn't continue the clock. We had to punt it back to them, and we let the game really be decided on a final play Hail Mary from Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. And luckily it fell incomplete. The Browns are 1-1. The Jaguars are 0-2. So I'd rather take an ugly win over a, I will accept an ugly win any day of the week. And we did see growth from Deshaun Watson. He looked like a different player. He didn't look great. He didn't look like Pro Bowl Watson, but he looked like a quasi lower tier competent quarterback that did enough to get it done. Maybe he can keep improving. So those are a few of my thoughts. I got many, but those are a few.
Yeah, that's I didn't get to watch much of that game, but that was my impression. And Trevor Lawrence, people are so on Trevor Lawrence. He's under so much pressure. Give him the tools to work with. Give him some time. I mean, I there's people that want to write this guy off already, and I'm just like, no, not somebody who throws a beautiful ball like he does. And it just may be that Trevor Lawrence is not going to be Joe Burrow, that he's going to be Jared Goff, that he's going to be a guy. I don't think there's any way that he busts out of the league, but I think he's going to be a guy who doesn't really come into his own until his 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year in the league. So it's a good win against a decent team that has a ways to go yet. And it remains to be seen if Doug Peterson is the right coach for them or not. We'll see.
Of course. Yeah. It's all about quarterback development with these head coaches. At a certain part in the first half, I think I forget what the stat was. We had barely given up any passing yards to Trevor Lawrence the entire first half. Something stupid like 27 passing yards. I don't have it in front of me, but the defense can be dominant. But like there were a couple of plays the Browns defense let them back in. But look, they made huge plays when it counted. And I just want to give out a couple of game balls here real quick. Definitely Jerry Jeudy coming over. Disgruntled wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, both from Alabama. Same with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has not been the number one that we've needed. He's had at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 drops in the first 2 games.
Yep.
He's a little frustrated that he didn't get a contract extension as Jerry Jones is handing out money like
M&Ms, like peanuts at a cocktail party, right? Yeah,
exactly. So kudos to Jerry Jeudy. He's really stepped up where Amari Cooper started off kind of sketchy, just like Jamar Chase has. I want to give a game ball to Dustin Hopkins, who's pretty much automatic from field goal kicking, which I really appreciate. And then I'll give 2 more to I'll give 3 more balls out. 2 to the running backs. Dante Foreman came in, and he got double the carries of the next closest running back, who used to be our number 1, Jerome Ford. He had 14 carries, and if they didn't have the holding calls, he put on a bunch of extra yards there, doing really well. He brought a little bit more power and physicality. And Jerome Ford gives you like that outside thing. And Ford ripped off a nice 36-yard run when it counted. Kudos to him. And then just Deshaun Watson, thanks for clawing your way up out of the gutter and becoming relevant. So a couple of game balls for that Browns game.
Good for Deshaun.
But like you said, though, the difference between 1-0 and 0-2 is drastic and good for Deshaun. We want to elaborate on any of those.
Well, if you go 0-2, you're not going to the Super Bowl. It's just pretty much simple. It's like a less than 5% chance. If you're 0-2, your chances of making the playoffs are less than 20%, even just getting to the playoffs. So it's really critical to win one of those first 2 games, and that's what I always look for, because as long as you win one of those first 2, you're in it. And that's why I think it's so unfair. I think that they ought to set a scheduling rule that nobody starts their first 2 weeks on the road. That's just not fair, given the hole you dig yourself into if you start out at 0-2. And the Jets had to start out with 2 road games, and that's just not right. The Seahawks, they did it to them in 2015 one time, and it's just not really cool.
I think you're onto something here, and I don't know if you've ever seen that story. It was like an old married couple that they were the ones that did all of the scheduling for Major League Baseball for like 35 years or something. And they did it all by hand, and they coordinate like just a different breed of people. But back to baseball, I think that there's places like Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit. Don't you dare book them home games in the end of March, the beginning of April. Can we backload these to domes and give us the chance when the sun is out? In baseball, I would much rather be on the road in a dome and then give extra time in the summer when the weather's okay.
Yeah.
It's a little different for baseball.
Yeah, and then it's weird. Like in Seattle, you have this weird problem with Safeco Field or T-Mobile Park or whatever it is now, with the onshore flow that just kills fly balls, like balls that when they're hit, they're home runs, and then this flow just stops them. And I think the Mariners ought to play dirty here. I think what they ought to, because there's these open areas of the stadium, I think what they ought to do is in the power alleys, they ought to have big, like, clear screens or walls that they can elevate. So when the Mariners are up, you lift those suckers up, you stop the wind, you get the home runs, and when the other team's batting, you take them down. That's what I'm doing if I ever own the Mariners. But
no,
it's weird how
that. But that topic has been all over. Today I saw somebody saying, the thing you don't know about baseball, yes, first base, home plate, like that's all normal. But for out in the outfield, anything goes. Like in Houston, they used to have a ramp that you have to run up. They had that for 20 years.
That was the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, okay, at the last minute you have to run up this hill. That's crazy. That should not have been allowed. That absolutely
they did that. And then in New York and Boston, you can hit it like 200 yards, and you call it a home run.
Then you have like Comerica Park where it was 425 or 450 to center field or something. It's like, geez, you have to hit it to the moon to get it out. So that's crazy. And like left field at Safeco is only, I think, about 325 feet. So it's not very far because Ken Griffey Jr. was left-handed and they built the stadium around him, right? So he's left-handed hitter. So, yeah, they ought to I think they ought to maybe make every ballpark standardized or something like that. That would be interesting.
I like the unique aspects to different parks, but it is weird that you just go and the field goal is an extra 10 feet taller. The end zone is 10 feet.
Yeah, that would be weird. That would be weird if it was football. So yeah,
that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I know when the Indians renovated the stadium last year, Guardians, whatever you want to call them,
they're the Indians.
They were saying that the home run rate, the velocity off the bat, whatever, when it's going to right field, a lot of these that they were projecting would turn into to fly balls, can of corn. Now they're getting pushed out, almost like there's a wind gust going through right field. And it's not fully confirmed, but I've heard people talk about it. It's interesting to think about. I mean, the dome versus the open air is always going to give you rain and sleet and snow and sun and shade and all of that stuff. But anyway, you guys were on the road. Talk about the Seahawks here. You're on the road in New England, and you pulled one out.
I was concerned about the 10 a.m. start, but I have to say it wasn't a big deal. They played like they normally do on 10 a.m. games. They were able to, it wasn't like the Mike Holmgren era where they sleepwalked through the first half. It wasn't like that. They played well enough. They got a little bit lucky. Geno Smith, everybody saw, oh, Geno Smith is elite. I mean, my Twitter X feed on Seahawk boy Mike Bara on Twitter X is just filled with all of the Geno bros who are just going on and on about how elite he is. Look at him. He's 327, got 327 yards. And the reality is he was 33 of 44, which sounds really good. But literally, if you look at his passing chart, right, which I have posted on my Twitter, his passing, every single pass, 90% of his completions, at least 29 of them, were under 10 yards. Okay. Oh, actually, that's not true. 29 of the 33 were under 20 yards. I think it was 25 that were under 10 yards. So all he did was dink and doink and take what the defense gave him, but he was very efficient at it. So you got to give him credit for that. But that's not elite quarterbacking. That's Rich Gannon. That's the most ridiculous MVP in NFL history, Rich Gannon, who was nothing but a short-armed little dink and doink 8-10 yards guy, and you let Tim Brown and whoever I forget the tight end, run for another 8 or 9 yards after that. And that's what the Seahawks did, because the Patriots played it exactly the way I speculated they would, which is we're going to stack the box against the run. We're going to double DK and Jackson Smith-Njigba and Noah Fant and Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett are going to have to beat us. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, Njigba had like 12 receptions, and it was just it was a very efficient game. Geno is on track for 17 touchdown passes this year. He's only got 2 passes longer than 20 yards, both touchdowns, both to wide open guys on broken coverages. So just stop with the Geno is elite stuff. If he plays a controlled solid game like this for 300 and some odd yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns against the 49ers, then I'm going to be impressed, mofos. But I'm not impressed right now. But I do think you have to give him credit because Geno is the best of the guys who aren't good enough. And he was very efficient. He saw the coverages. But I think, again, since the defense hasn't changed much, I think they were pretty well prepared for what they saw. Now, the thing about that is that, on the other side, the coaching just isn't there. I mean, Mike Macdonald is got a tin ear when it comes to reading the game. Where are we in the game? What should I do here? The Seahawks got the ball back in the first drive of the second half, drove it all the way down to the 20-yard line, a 60-yard drive, 50, 60-yard drive, something like that. And it had 4th and a long one. And when you're on the road, they were up by 4. They were up 17-13. When you're on the road, you have a long drive. It consumes 5, 6, 7 minutes. You take the points and you go up 7 points and you make the other team have to score twice to beat you. And no, what does he do? He goes for it. And he went for it in a situation where they hadn't been able to run the ball all day. Zach Charbonnet was in for Kenneth Walker. Walker missed the game. Zach Charbonnet is horseshit. He's garbage. He's terrible.
He's not good.
He can't run. He can't run. And this is the thing. Look, this is the thing.
I drafted it in my dynasty league. I needed a running back.
No, cut him. He simply is not fast enough for the NFL. He can't, even when he catches the ball on the outside, he gets run down right away. He doesn't break tackles. Oh, everybody's like, oh, well, he's a power back. He's not a speed back. Well, where's the power? He didn't break any tackles. He didn't get any second effort yards. I think he's averaging less than 2.7 yards per carry in 22 carries so far. And you just have to face the reality that you burned a second-round pick. You burned the 58th pick in the draft on this guy last year, and he's just not fast enough. And yet, Mike Macdonald would not bring in. He had 2 other running backs active. He had Kenny McIntosh, who played at Georgia in college. He was injured last year, but he showed a lot in the preseason in terms of speed and power. And you have another guy named George Holani who looked really good in the preseason, and he didn't give them a carry. And I think part of what's going on there is just that they don't want to admit it. There's a lot of ego in the Seahawks. John Schneider and Pete Carroll both have ego problems, the general manager and the former coach. And I think that Schneider just doesn't want to admit that they burned a second-round pick on a guy who probably should have been taken in the 4th or 5th round. Now, he had the reputation. Everybody saw him as a 2nd or 3rd round pick, but he's just not fast enough. And I heard a lot of crap about, well, the offensive line wasn't blocking. Well, the offensive line in the first week, they blocked well enough for Ken Walker to get 109 yards on 20 carries. And yet this week they couldn't block. Or was it that the back simply wasn't hitting the spaces fast enough?
What is Walker's? Is it an oblique? Is it
it's like an abdomen oblique kind of thing. Okay. But Ken Walker's always got some little ding that affects his. This is this is the reality. You have to have 2 backs, and I understand what they're saying. Oh well, Charbonnet's great on blitz pickup, and they'll show a couple of that. That shouldn't dictate who gets the ball in your running game. Okay. So look, maybe everybody will go, oh, well, Charbonnet's out of the game and now Kenny McIntosh is in. So they're going to hand the ball to McIntosh because he's not a good pass protector. Yeah. Coaches figure this stuff out, but you know what you do? You line up 2 guys in the backfield. You bring one of your tight ends in and you give it to the quicker guy who can get you the yards. So there's these mistakes that Mike Macdonald is making. And I saw a pretty interesting article. I think it was on Barstool, where they're talking about how analytics, and my saying is analytics is the death of common sense because it doesn't take into account momentum and energy and feel. And if you are a slave to analytics, you are going to ignore the feel of the game. I knew that if they tried to go for it on 4th down in that game at the beginning of the second half, that they weren't going to make it. I knew that with Charbonnet, hadn't done anything all day, they weren't going to make it. He should have just kicked the field goal, but analytics said 58% chance you make that 4th and 1.5 in that situation. I get it, but nobody pays attention to the momentum of the game anymore. So anyway, I found it to be kind of a frustrating experience. The Seahawks defense got run on quite a bit. That's a concern, but they also made some big plays here and there. And look, the reality is they could have lost that game. But it was a blocked field goal by Julian Love, who is playing just off scale high. He's playing great as a safety that really won them that game because that meant that when the last Patriots drive, they only got a field goal out of it. That meant all we had to do was get a field goal to tie, and we were able to do that. So, and then in overtime, we got lucky and won the game. So I'll take it. It was ugly, but I'm not. I just think there's some disturbing trends, and I'm like most Seahawks fans. I'm not gonna get too excited about Geno Smith.
Well, look, ESPN, I think they had you ranked 11 on the power rankings now.
Yeah, I would. Well, I think we're going to go 3-0 this week. I think we're going to go 3-0 this week because we're playing the Dolphins without Tua, but at home. But I don't think we're that good.
Well, let's talk about Tua, but in the context of quarterback play, just to wrap up what you were saying, and kind of reference what I said earlier, just across the league, I think Brock Purdy's right at the top, Baker's at the top, Sam Darnold's at the top.
Yeah,
it's a strange top 5 right now, and everybody's doing check down because they're doing like cover 2 safety work. Like, they are just totally blocking out the big play. So it's single, bunt, single, draw a walk, single, hit by pitch. Like, nobody's hitting doubles right now.
Right.
The quarterbacks are just there's not much space. And
Mel Kiper came on and said, well, maybe we should ban this too high safety stuff. And it's like, no, maybe the offenses should just be better. Maybe you should just find guys that can block longer so your quarterback can throw deep. And the thing is, Brian, is the offenses always figure it out. They always figure it out, and we always get the big plays later in the year by the teams with the great quarterbacks and the big arms, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
2 games in. We have plenty of season left, but it's been interesting to follow so far, regardless. But you brought up Tua. Let's talk about him. He leaves with another dinger, man. He did that thing with the arm, and it got stiff, and it's like. I feel very uncomfortable watching that. Bills routed the Dolphins. What did you make of that game and Tua's injury?
Well, I thought the injury, I thought maybe what was happening is that he had gotten numb, like he had a stinger because of the way his neck got bent. I think that was more, I'm got tingling in my hands and I'm trying to I don't think that was some neurological reaction. It was more, well, that is a neurological reaction, but it wasn't like he was severely brain damaged. I think people are making too much of this. I think he does get, he gets his bell rung. He led with his head, which was dumb. I think Tua's got to learn how to slide. I think he's got to learn how to play smarter because he is a little bit concussion prone. But if I was him,
can I tell you just on that point, Denzel Ward, one of the best cover men in the league, Ohio State boy playing with the Cleveland Browns right now, he's very concussion prone. And it's like, can we please teach you how to tackle more safely? Why are you dropping your head? Why? You're putting yourself in position, grab and wrap and spin, bring him to, there's ways you can make the tackles without putting yourself at risk. But some people know how to slide and some people don't. Some people know how to grab and wrap and, go out of bounds instead of taking that big hit. And I think that's what CJ Stroud was telling Caleb Williams at the end of the game, and some people are giving him grief over it, just saying hey man, don't let yourself take so many hits out there. You got your ass kicked, prolong your career. So there's a lot to unpack with this.
Yeah, there is. I mean, unless you're Cam Newton, you are not going to run over guys in this league and get away with it as a quarterback. You're going to get knocked out, or like Anthony Richardson, miss an entire season, miss 8 or 9 or 10 games of the season if you don't take care of yourself. So I think that's pretty scary. Tua, I think, just doesn't play very smart. It's not like he's been hit in ways that were unavoidable from the concussions I've seen. I think he just needs to avoid the contact a little bit more. And I don't think he's quitting. I wouldn't quit if I was him. And God, please don't let him wear one of those stupid Guardian caps. Those are great new helmets. Those look so stupid.
The new Browns superstar, Pro Bowl linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He's wearing a Guardian cap now. It's strange. It looks so like
gay. Sorry, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
It looks like a character out of a Super Mario. It looks like
it looks like the Great Gazoo from the old I forget what Bugs Bunny cartoons. That's what it looks like.
And it's not that they've been proven to be any safer. It's just they're trying to gather data and see. So I mean, if someone wants to try it, cool. Anything that could reduce permanent damage to these players. I'm all for that, but yeah, it looks really goofy.
No, I think they should ban them for just looking stupid.
I'm
fine with wearing them in practice, but don't wear them in the games. Come on, man
right.
up. The thing about this game is that what makes these guys heroes. What makes Formula One drivers heroes? What makes IndyCar drivers heroes? The fact that they could die doing what they're doing, that they hit that geometry of that wall just wrong and they're dead. That makes them gladiators. That makes them heroes. Football players aren't quite at that level, but what makes them tough, what makes them heroes, what makes them special is how tough they are. And look, let's not take that masculine aspect out of the game.
Did James Cook impress you with that masculine aspect with the Bills getting 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, it was good. And that game was just a straight up brutal ass kicking. And I think it shows that the Dolphins are just not that physical. And that's why I don't really favor them for the next few weeks.
And especially if they've taken out those deep plays that Tyreek Hill used to hit the home runs on. I mean,
who's going to get the ball to Tyreek Hill this weekend? I mean, the Seahawks have pretty good cover corners, maybe the best pair in the league in Devon Witherspoon and Trey Brown. So I think and then Tariq Woolen is great. So I think they're going to have a hard time scoring this week anyway.
Well, let's talk about a team that did not have a hard time scoring this week. That would be the New Orleans Saints. By the way, if we're going to do the inverted pyramid, the bar chart, the pie graph, whatever we're talking about of quarterback play, Derek Carr is among the best quarterbacks of this early season. It seems his 2-0 Saints hung 44 on the Dallas Cowboys, who looked pretty good against the Browns. Then they looked very mortal this week. Derek Carr, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, but 44 points, Mike. What say you? What did we learn here?
Well, I mean, I don't think Derek Carr, we know who Derek Carr is, and this is not him, but he had a great game. He does have these games. Where he plays great. And look, I just think it shows how terrible the Cowboys defense really is.
They played the Browns nicely in game 1. They did good. I thought they were good. Are they not good?
Yeah, Carr has the new receiver. Is it Rashid Shaheed? I guess it's Rashid Shaheed, I think.
70-yarder.
And he basically said, look, I see him running. I see him get behind his guy, and I just throw the ball as far as I can, and he runs under it. And that's what they did again for the second week in a row. And how do you compete with that? With that kind of speed and explosiveness? I think the Saints, you have to give them tremendous credit for who is there? Dennis Allen is the coach, right? Dennis Allen's still the coach there? I think so. Anyway, and they just came in and beat the crap out of the Cowboys, and it just shows the inconsistency of the Cowboys under Jason Garrett and under Mike McCarthy. And man, that is a team that needs somebody like Bill Belichick to come in and give them some discipline and consistency. Because one thing Belichick will show them is how do you play well week to week, and they just don't do that. And again, this isn't a surprise because this is who the Cowboys are. Right? They're up, they're down, they're up, they're down.
Yes, it's showing Dennis Allen. Yeah, the coach. He was with the Raiders before this.
Yes, he was, and he has big man boobs. Yeah, he wears the wrong shirts on the sidelines. Let's put it that way. Dennis, Dennis, they have plastic surgery for that. They'll get rid of the man boobs.
Well, what do you think the Saints are going to be this year? Are you starting to get impressed with their undefeated season? We'll see. What about the Cowboys at 1-1?
They're off to a good start. I think they're serious playoff contenders, and I think they could win their division absolutely. And they're definitely in that 9-10 win range. I think the Saints, and maybe even 11, because again, a lot of it depends on injuries, though. Too, of course.
That's true. Okay, well, let's talk about another team in that division, another undefeated team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As a Cleveland Browns fan, I was one of the people who always backed Baker. I believe you were a Baker fan of some sort as well.
I wanted him for the Seahawks. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Russ.
The Buccaneers, they won that bidding war, paid him $100 million over 3 years. It's okay pay for a quarterback. It's not great, but look, he's got his second chance, and he feels very happy, comfortable, and stable there. And look, to the Baker haters that say, well, he never plays well against good teams. It's the Baker cycle. He has one good game when he's an underdog mentality against a bad team. Then he plays a good team and he loses to him. Well, you can throw that out the window as well, because Tampa went into the Detroit Lions home in a rematch of the game that sent the winning Lions to the NFC Championship game last year.
Yeah.
On the road, got the win, tough game, fought it out. Baker made it happen. No huge mistakes. What say you in this game? What did we learn about the Bucs and the Lions?
Yeah, they paid him back. I think we found out the Lions are not quite as good as we thought they were. And again, we just see the ultimate competitive guy in Baker Mayfield. He's so people say he's immature. Well, you know what? He's pissed off because he's not playing, because he wants to play and he wants to win. And I think that is something that is vastly underrated, is how competitive is this guy? How much does he love football? And I think Baker loves football. I think he loves playing football, and I think he loves winning. And that came through in this game. He wasn't, he didn't have a lot of throws, but he made the big plays when he needed to. And the Tampa Bay impresses me with just how tough they are. Having said that, the Lions will get it together. They will pull things back. This was an ouch. This was I stepped on a lit cigarette kind of thing into my bare feet kind of game. But oh my God, is Aiden Hutchinson one of the best players? I think he's the best defensive player in the league right now. And how stupid are the Jaguars for passing over him for who do they take? I don't know. The more athletic guy, the athletic black guy. And, it's funny because Pete Carroll had a real bias against white defensive ends and white offensive linemen. He just didn't draft them. And that's the reality, because he liked the athletic guy and he would always look at all these athletic qualities. So he passed on guys, TJ Watt and Max Crosby. They could have had TJ Watt and Max Crosby. They were sitting right there, could have drafted those guys two out of, in 2017 and 2019. Imagine how good the Seahawks would be if they had those two guys rushing the passer. And again, the Jags made the same. I forget who they went through. Was it Kayvon Thibodeau? It was the Oregon guy that the Jaguars took instead. Number one, they let the Lions take Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson is going to terrorize quarterbacks for a long time.
I don't know if I'd go so far as to call him the best in the league or anything, being that Myles Garrett, the reigning defensive player of the year, is on the Cleveland Browns. But I will say Aiden Hutchinson had just had the biggest game defensively of the early part of the 2024 season. That's obvious, but it was a strange game. Baker got sacked 5 times, but he also had 5 rushes for 34 yards and a running touchdown that they needed. He threw 1 pick, but he threw 1 touchdown. I mean, he did enough to get it done, and it doesn't hurt having Godwin and Evans over there to catch the ball.
Anytime you can beat the Lions on the road these days, you're doing well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just I think we learned that Baker can go into hostile territory and win the big games. That was a knock on him his entire career. So once again, I was right. They were wrong. Let's go here to Green Bay, Mike. The Colts played the Packers. This was a low scoring game as well. It was 16-10. The 0-2 Colts, 1-1 Packers. What do we know here? Malik Willis is under center.
If Malik Willis is your quarterback, it's going to be a low-scoring game. But the Packers coached it well. They played it exactly right. I can't tell you how impressed I am. How impressed I am that the Packers were able to win that game with Malik Willis at quarterback. That says a lot about their players, their running game, their coaching staff. They pulled it out. Anthony Richardson, 41.8 quarterback rating. Yikes. That's not good enough. And for all his physical talents, I think he has a lot to learn about playing quarterback.
Yeah. Also Josh Jacobs. I mean, look, a bell cow back now. Josh Jacobs, 32 carries, 151 yards. Like, you don't get that win from Green Bay if you don't have that type of rushing attack.
Nope. There's Jordan Love practiced today. He might even play on Sunday, but we don't know.
Oh, okay. I was unaware of that. But Packers get back on track, and the Colts are still trying to figure out what direction they're headed with their season. We'll see. It's a young quarterback. Essentially, it's Anthony Richardson, who was redshirted last year. He played a couple snaps, got injured. He's still a rookie, sort of. So, you got to kind of let that play out. Okay. What about Jets and Titans? Another low score. I mean, I guess 24 points is a little bit of something, but like I said, it's down across the league. It's a little weird to see such few teams are getting into the 30s, but the Titans, they started off strong. They had the lead at the half, and then the Jets kind of pulled away. What did we take away here?
Tennessee's kind of messed up right now. Will Levis had a bad fumble, but again, he threw the ball pretty well. I mean, what did he end up with? Almost 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It wasn't a terrible mistake on the interception. he's under a lot of pressure, even though they have a good offensive line. I think this is a guy with so much physical talent that you just can't write him off. I wanted the Seahawks to draft him with the 5th pick in 2023. I would have taken him with the 20th pick for sure. And, or the 5th pick, or traded up to the top of the 2nd round to get him, but they just didn't do that. And I think he's going to make them regret it. I think this is a guy with a tremendous future. And, to me, physically, he looks like Josh Allen. We'll see if he can become what Josh Allen is, but he got beat by the master. He got out-dueled by the Matador, by Aaron Rodgers, who just can still make every throw. And he doesn't have great players around him right now, especially on the offensive line, but they did what they needed to do to win the game. And the Titans came up just a little bit short. So, somebody had to be 1-1 after that game, and it was the Jets, and good for them. We'll see how they do tonight. I think they win tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah, Braylon Allen had that go-ahead 20-yard touchdown run. Waiting for Breece Hall to kind of be that bell cow back, but it just isn't quite materializing. It seems.
The Titans have good receivers, so I really do think that as the season goes on, Will Levis gets. Here's the thing: if you got a player with Will Levis's skill set and his accuracy, which is right there, if he's not performing, the coach has got to look in the mirror, because I don't think it's the player. I think he's got to get better coaching. But excellent. Not an excellent game, but I just think they have a great future there in Tennessee.
Yeah, and a lot of teams hit different phases of their rebuild, and you can identify. You're right, Will Levis, he looks the part.
Yeah,
at the danger of going the Pete Carroll route of a player looking like someone you should draft. Just do they seem to understand the game? He has the tools, but how long will it take for him to kind of level up? It's a game that people spend their entire lives trying to master. It's not easy to jump in and be fantastic, but yeah, I would let this ride, see what you have with the guy. You got to find out, right? I mean, the Browns with Deshaun Watson, season 3 of a 5-year mega deal. There were calls after week 1 saying, go ahead and put Jameis Winston in. Nobody could play worse than what we saw out of Deshaun Watson in game 1. But look, he turned it around. It was serviceable. He was a C+, maybe a C+ grade. It was okay. All right. You
gotta build Deshaun back better. That's what you got to do. You got to build him back better, because you just got to give him time. He's been through a lot,
Build Deshaun back better. All right. I like
Correct.
that. Okay, let's go to the Vikings. They've been built back better. I kind of wrote the season off when, losing your
AJ McCarthy,
AJ quarterback, the new guy coming in from the national champion team. But look, Sam Darnold is surprising a lot of people, and they beat the 49ers, who a lot of people had as the number 1 or number 2 team in the league.
Yeah.
What did we learn about the undefeated Vikings?
Well, what I saw this game, they beat the crap out of the 49ers physically. They really did. And that is how you beat them. You just, they're the bully. They come in, they try to bully you. You punch them right back in the face. Sam Darnold, a lot of hype around Sam Darnold. He played well. We know what Sam Darnold is, and we know what he isn't. And, they were up 17-0. They were driving for another score, and Darnold threw a terrible interception where he just literally didn't see Fred Warner. How do you not know where Fred Warner is? Maybe the best middle linebacker in the league. How do you not know where he is on every play, right? And threw the ball right to him. Typical Sam Darnold play. And they could have scored a field goal there, and then they fumbled the ball on the 1-yard line when a guy was going in for a touchdown. So they left another 10 points on the board. Could have been 33-17 or something like that. They physically manhandled them, and that's how the Vikings are going to have to win games, is beat people up, run the ball, and get what they can out of Sam Darnold. And I think they ran that formula very efficiently. And again, 49ers, 10 a.m. game. Not every team prepares like the Seahawks do. There's 5 teams in the Pacific time zone. There are studies done. The 10 a.m. games, they underperform. And I don't know. I'd like to go back and look at what the 49ers do. Do they practice at 10 a.m. on a 10 a.m. game week? I don't know. Do they fly out a day early like the Seahawks do? I don't know. Probably not. They don't have rich owners. Jody Allen is one of the 20 richest people on the planet. So they have a brand new 747 with all first class seats, and they fly out a day early. So these are things that other teams have to pay attention to. So
I think that's an important aspect that you raise. I would love to hear reporters asking these types of logistical questions. And
Yeah.
you're living in Vegas. It's all data. It's all analytics, and trying to get the edge and figure out, how are they going to cover? Are they going to underperform? Should I pick the over or the under? There's a lot of reasons why people watch football. One, because you love the game. Two, because it's so fun and interesting to wager on, whether it's a
and to have a hunch
or a fantasy football league,
right? And to figure out to get that edge that nobody else has,
right.
what's going to happen in this game? And I'm just telling you, typically, I think you bet against every West Coast team at 10 a.m. except maybe the Seahawks because of the way they do it. So we'll see.
No, I mean, look, that's a good. I've never really thought about it that much, but I will say, when I was a Los Angeles resident, being from Ohio, I thought it was really weird having to get up at 8:30 to get to B-Dubs by 9:15, so I could make sure I got a seat by my TV to watch the 10 o'clock game. That's something I did never encounter before, but after a little bit, I grew to resent the 1 o'clock game. I like football games.
I have to wait all freaking day for my football game. It's like, no, you get up, you grab some breakfast, you sit down, you watch Red Zone, you watch all the games starting at 10 a.m. and you're there till 8 at night. It's a great Sunday. So
so that grew on me a little bit. Just a couple of points, couple game balls here. Justin Jefferson with a 97-yard touchdown pass from Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it tied the longest touchdown in Vikings history. How could it not at 97? You're getting close to the end there. But yeah, I mean, the ultimate home run hitter with Justin Jefferson. Debo kind of back. He's been battling injuries, but he had over 100 yards. Jordan Mason doing okay, filling in for the injured Christian McCaffrey. Who knows how long he'll be gone. 20 carries, 100 yards. And like I said, Purdy is right toward the top of the league with passing yardage or efficiency, different metrics, but Purdy's consistent, if not flashy, showy, or fantastic. He's capable of getting it done, but Vikings get the upset. Okay, this is the team that the Browns are going to get to play. This is going to be the New York Football Giants. So we play them this week, but they lost to the Washington Commanders, getting their first win, go one-on-one on the season. 21-18, Commanders win. What do you say here?
Two awful teams you just don't want to watch. Thank God it wasn't on Thursday or Monday or something. Two awful teams you don't want to watch. The only thing I think it's interesting about this game is how did Jaden Daniels do? I know he ran the ball a little bit, but I got not much to say about this. They're just teams that are 2 more years away, I think, before they really can get their rebuilds going. And the Giants look like they're going to have to kind of start over at quarterback again, because I think if you put Drew Lock in, as mediocre as he is, he's got to play better than Daniel Jones. He's got to be better than Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones is just awful.
Awful. Yeah. I can't disagree with the quarterback Giants thing. Of course, Jaden Daniels era, him getting the first win. That's a nice one. Good performance from Brian Robinson Jr., 133 yards on the ground. The immortal Zach Ertz. Look at that. Him and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah. I mean, it was all field goals. Wasn't it 7 field goals by the Commanders? Yeah, they didn't have a touchdown. So, the great ones throw touchdowns. They do.
The interesting fact here is with Austin Seibert. Seibert or Seibert? He used to be the Cleveland Browns field goal kicker.
Yeah.
We have a lot of castaway former field goal kickers.
You know how it is. Kickers are weird, and it's like they just got to be in the right situation, and then it all comes together for them. I heard Bill Belichick on the Manning cast on Monday night talking about Youngo Koo or whatever his name is, and saying, I had him in New England for a while, and he couldn't kick worth a damn, and then he goes to Atlanta and he's in a dome most of the time and he kicks great. So you just never know about the kickers. It's all mental with them. Physically, they're all about the same. So,
yeah, and maybe that's what Deshaun Watson is going through, that whole mental side of things, and just so many moving parts, and you're just trying to find your new foundation, and it's just the pieces have to click. By the way, any thoughts on Bill Belichick on the other side of the screen now, giving commentary, doing segments and breaking down plays and coaching? I've heard some people raving about his stuff, whereas maybe not so much with Tom Brady. Any thoughts on the announcing side of things?
I like it. I watch the Manning cast when it's on. Peyton and Eli and Bill Belichick has been there for most of the first half of the first 2 games. And look, with those three guys talking about football, I'm going to learn so much just listening to them. And Peyton talking about physically exactly how you have to throw this ball. And, here's what he did that was so great. He took a half step this way and got an open lane and then sidearmed it to the guy. And it's just like stuff you don't know about unless you're a player or a coach. And, all this X's and O's, single high safety, two deep, corners, man over under. I don't give a shit about that. What they talk about is the stuff that you and I as fans can recognize and understand. This is what wins or loses games. I mean, you can have all this complex film stuff, but we can watch a game. This is what makes football so great, is we can watch a game and we know why our team won or lost that game. We don't have to know every detail of what every guy's assignment was on a given play. And those three dudes, I think they're great as announcers, and I love watching the Manning cast. I absolutely love it.
Yes. Let's
Even though the ratings aren't great.
What's that last part?
Even though the ratings aren't that great. I don't understand that. I mean,
I don't know. Can we trust any ratings or any polls right now? I feel like all the data is fake.
No, the polls are a joke right now.
Everything is fake. I don't know that we know how to measure anything from global warming temperature to support to the support.
Any poll that shows you a certain chick from India ahead, just you can throw it out immediately because it's a fake poll. Anyway, Chargers Panthers.
Chargers Panthers. Bryce Young is now benched. I don't know if you need to throw him out with the bathwater, but he's clearly in over his head. He's not getting much done there. They're wondering if that's the worst number 1 pick overall in NFL history. We'll see. But the 0-2 Panthers look like a winless team. But the Chargers, Herbert throws for 2 touchdowns, and J.K. Dobbins, man, he's had a fantastic beginning of the season with another 131 and a touchdown. And Quentin Johnson looking legit with 2 touchdowns here. What do we make of the Chargers? Are they legit with Harbaugh over there? And what's going on in Carolina?
Well, Harbaugh's legit and Justin Herbert's legit, and that's what you need to win football games is a quarterback and a coach. That'll get you started, right? They're 2-0. And when we played them, when the Seahawks played them in the first preseason game, our second and third team guys destroyed their second and third team guys. And I thought this is going to be a really bad football team, but their starters are pretty good, and they're very well coached and disciplined. So I think if the Chargers get some injuries, they're going to lose a lot of games. But I think as long as they can stay reasonably healthy, I think they're going to have a great season. I think what's happening to Bryce Young is so unfair. I think he was rushed into the situation before he was ready. And I just think, Mel Kiper went on a rant this week about how mishandled the situation was in Carolina, and I 100% agree with that. And, if you want your young quarterback to fail, here's what you do. You draft him, and you don't get guys around him that can block, catch, and run. And then you change offensive coordinators on him in his first year or two. That'll screw him up.
In Cleveland, we call that the Tim Couch treatment.
Yeah, the Tim Couch treatment. Exactly. And,
it is unfortunate. I got nothing against him. I know that's where the Browns dumped Baker Mayfield when they were unhappy with how that all played out. And look, the Carolina Panthers almost ruined Baker. But as soon as he went to a legit, stable franchise with the Rams, look what he did. He did some fantastic stuff, and look what he's been doing in Tampa. So situationally, it really matters where you play, where you get drafted. I know Eli Manning and John Elway and a lot of other, Bernie Kosar even entered the supplemental draft so that he could handpick the Cleveland Browns to be his team. But there have been some players that have said, I will not play with this franchise. You can draft me, but I'm not playing. And you're like, oh, you're such a diva. I can't believe these sportsters. And honestly, some places are just that toxic. Carolina just doesn't seem to have a clue right now. So I don't know what their answer is, but
I think they got the number 1 overall pick, and they probably are taking another quarterback. So let's see what happens with that Bryce Young traded rumors that are out there.
Absolutely. All right, let's go here. Ravens, shockingly 0-2. But they're 2 plays away from being 2-0.
Yeah.
Let's just face it. Las Vegas gets their first win. Baltimore's 0-2. Gardner Minshew and the Raiders. What say you?
Well, a lot of teams are just 1 play away from being 0-2 or 2-0 or 1-1. That's the way the NFL is. But, if the Seahawks don't get a blocked field goal, I'm not sure they're not 1-1 coming home. So, it's one of these things. But speaking of teams at 10 a.m., the Raiders did it the right way. They went out there. They played the Ravens. They were very physical with the Ravens, and they have a quarterback who may not be the most talented guy out there in Gardner Minshew, but is very competitive and kept them in it. And let's face it, the Ravens are not as good as we thought they were. And losing Mike Macdonald, who I think is an excellent coach, despite my situational criticisms of him, I think that's affected them. I think their defense is not playing as well as it should have been. And, you know, you give up 276 yards to Gardner Minshew, you're doing something wrong. And, you know, you got to give a kudos to the Raiders for just toughing it out and playing a tough game at 10 a.m. and beating the crap out of the Ravens. I mean, it was a close game, but they, you know, that was a fair win for the Raiders.
I mean, look, Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams both had 9 receptions each, but look at their rushing. On the day, they rushed for 27 yards total. Yeah. That is their leading rusher had 24 yards on the day. That's just the third leading rusher, Justice Hill, had 22 yards.
Yeah, that's like that. Those are Zach Charbonnet numbers there. Those are bad.
So I don't know. Look, you will never get me crying a tear that the dirty Ratbirds who stole my franchise in 1996, like you'll never get me boo-hooing about them, but they really are 2 plays away from being 2-0. I'll take an 0-2 start. Fine. I'm fine with it. Let's talk over here. Marvin Harrison Jr. looking fine. Finally, first game was not impressive, but now he has his first 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And the lowly injured Rams now, the 0-2 Rams looking rough. 41 points from Arizona. You were raving about their quarterback play the other day, wishing he was a Seahawk. What do you take away from this Cardinals win and the lowly injured Rams?
We aren't going to get Kyler Murray. You got to kind of hope that maybe he has another up and down season. The Cardinals want to jettison his salary, and the Seahawks grow a brain and swoop in with a first round pick and go get it. That ain't going to happen. Kyler's playing great. In spite of his physical infirmities, the fact that he's so little, he does leave some plays on the field, but he makes more plays than he leaves on the field. Cardinals have looked great the first 2 weeks. They should be 2-0. They should not be 1-1. They are going to be a handful for every team that plays out there. The Rams look like dead last in the NFC West. Even if they were healthy, they'd look like dead last. And the reality is most of their key players are injured. And they're not –
He's gone for injured reserve. He's gone.
Yeah, they didn't put him on injured reserve, but he's going to miss 3 or 4 weeks. He's probably going to miss 3 weeks instead of 4, so they didn't put him on IR. It's a high ankle sprain. He's going to be out for a while.
And that's on top of Puka Nacua being out. It's just like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, they're both the same type of receiver. They're the quick guy in and out of their cuts, separation, great hands, very efficient route running, and injury prone. So here we are. So I don't know. I have much to say about the Rams. I just think they stink. And the Cardinals are going to be trouble all through the year. They're going to be trouble.
All right. Well, yeah, they're going to be in your division, so you're going to see them, twice. Talking about teams in the division, the Steelers. Doggone it, these doggone friggin' Steelers. I'm trying not to cuss, but like 2-0. Somehow they're 2-0. They could have easily lost this one to Denver, but they eke out a 13-6 epic barn burner. What's your takeaway here? Justin Fields wins his 2nd straight start.
Well, good for Justin Fields. I kind of wanted him for the Seahawks because of his athletic upside, but it just seems like he's not a productive player. He doesn't score. He doesn't throw for touchdowns enough. He doesn't throw enough touchdowns. There seems to be some issues with recognition, but he's got the legs. He can make those plays. Steelers have a good defense. Broncos have a terrible offense. Last year, everything was Russell Wilson's fault. So they went out and got the quarterback they wanted, Bo Nix, and their offense in Denver is still ass. I think the common denominator here is Sean Payton. Sean Payton is washed up. He's finished. Get rid of – you're not going to get anywhere with him. But I think they have to stay with Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is very unfairly criticized, but they just don't score points, and they're not going to score points, the Broncos. So it was a dull game between 2 teams with not a lot of offense. We'll see what the Steelers can do when they get Russ back healthy, but it doesn't look like it's going to be this week. So we'll see.
All right. 3 more games left. Talking about games that might not have been close and not high scoring. Look, 25-26 came right down to the wire. Kansas City Chiefs get a miracle call like they always do. I'm so shocked that Mr. Pfizer and Miss Swift get a call for their favorite team. But the Kansas City Chiefs stay 2-0. They stay undefeated, rather. And the Bengals, once again, another AFC North team, along with the Baltimore Ravens, drop to 0-2. There seems to be trouble between Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. What say you in this game? This was a game that was for the AFC Championship just 2 years ago.
I remember 2 years ago or last year, I forget, Bengals playing the Chiefs in the playoffs. And they get a penalty for roughing Mahomes out of bounds, which was a hit inbounds. Totally ridiculous call that basically won the game for the Chiefs. And you see this Bengals guy just losing his shit on the sideline, and you focus in on the Bengals coach. What's his name? Zach Thomas?
Geez, I just thought Zach
something. Anyway, but he looks at the player, and you can see him, and they mouth it. He's like, "It's rigged. It's rigged," he says to his player. This always happens. And I'm just going to say this about
Zach Taylor, by the way, not Thomas.
Zach Taylor. Okay, I knew it was something like that. Zach T. And
I
he
knew
said it was
Zach Efron. So
yeah, it's rigged. It's rigged. And look, here's the thing: that was pass interference. But do you make that call at a critical point in the fourth quarter of a game with the game on the line to basically hand one team a win over another? I'm just going to tell you this: if that guy's uniform had been white, and if his name was DK Metcalf, and it was the Seahawks, or if it was the Jaguars playing another team like the Chiefs or one of the glamour New York teams, that would not have been called. I have seen that exact same PI just let go in the fourth quarter of games. Why is it only seems like the Chiefs get those calls?
No, that's a fair point, and it's getting really exhausting to have to deal with this year after year. Chiefs have really worn out their welcome, and yeah, even the Taylor Swift effect might have had a negative bounce back with her political stuff, but we'll save that for another show. Couple of points here. Mike Gesicki is a player I followed for a while. I had him on my dynasty team. He did well in Miami, but then he kind of languished a little bit in New England, and he kind of went off for 7 catches, 91 yards. Keep your eye on him. 9 targets on the day. He's getting more action than Jamar Chase. Jamar's pissed off he didn't get his contract, and things are just kind of weird. The Bengals were competitive, but I'll take that close loss. Unfortunately, I also have Isaiah Pacheco in the running back for the Chiefs in one of my dynasty leagues, and he broke his.
Speaking of guys who are faster than Zach Charbonnet, Isaiah Pacheco would be one of them.
Yeah, he's a 5th-round pick from Northern Illinois, Iowa.
Round pick, yeah, and last part of the draft.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can get really good players at late stages of the game if you know how to evaluate talent. But unfortunately, Isaiah's gone. A couple of these other guys are going to probably step in, maybe steal. But they also just re-signed Kareem Hunt, or at least brought him in. He's a free agent, and he might be activated this week. He's on the practice squad.
Maybe Kareem Hunt can knock out somebody and with a big hit.
He had a bad day. Harrison Butker hit the game winner, though. He's captain.
We got to root for Harris. That's the thing is, I hate the Chiefs, but I got to root for Harrison Butker every time because he's.
I have to as well. He wants American families to be strong. Like, that's not a controversial take.
Yeah.
Go figure. So, okay, 2 more here. Houston Texans, they get another win. Stay 2-0, undefeated. Bears, they fall 6 points short, losing in Houston. TJ Stroud, what do you say? What do you think?
TJ Stroud gets the job done. Caleb Williams is not ready for prime time yet. So, the Bears have a good defense. They held him down. But in the end, the home team wins just by being a little bit better.
Yeah. I'm not expecting a ton from the Bears. It would be interesting to see if they can find a way to work in some of their wide receivers. Of course, Keenan Allen injured.
Romo Dunze, they're saying he's having some trouble getting separation from guys, and I don't know what that deal is because he's plenty fast enough, and they'll have to figure that out. But he is. The offensive coordinator there is Shane Waldron, who was the Seahawks offensive coordinator the last couple of years, and he's not very good. So they're talking about how Caleb Williams has to just throw the ball to Romo Dunze, even if he's covered, and just let him fight for the ball and win that because he's so big and strong. So that's going to help the Bears. But, two kind of, okay teams. And the Texans were just a little bit more than okay. So they're still rolling, getting started coming out of the gate.
Yeah, and look at that. Fairbairn had it 4 field goals. This was a once again kind of across the league inability to punch it in for touchdowns, and a lot of it is kind of being
Well,
foisted upon the field goal kicker to determine the wins.
I'd rather have a 19-13 or a 22-21 game than watch like these college games where everything is basically from a run and shoot type setup out of the shotgun, and it's 56-49. I don't want to watch that kind of football. That's garbage. So, I'd prefer this, but yeah, we would like to see the offenses get more efficient for sure.
Well, look, here's one that had a little bit of both. The final game of last week was the Atlanta Falcons. I was watching this game. I had several fantasy football implications at play, so I kind of stuck it out to the end. I didn't see the Atlanta Falcons coming back to get this done, but look, Kirk Cousins is a veteran quarterback. He's been there before, and he had a final drive that got the win, upsetting them in a 1-point game in Philadelphia on Monday night, 22-21. What did we learn?
Hey, we learned the Falcons are better than we thought they were, and the Eagles are not as good as we thought they were. And, we got to stop pretending the Eagles are the Eagles from last year with Jason Kelce at center and this great offensive line. It's not as good as it used to be, and the Falcons exposed that a little bit, even though they don't have much in the way of pass rushers. And in the end, Kirk Cousins puts a team on his shoulder and wins the game. So you got to give Kirk credit for that. That's been a criticism against him forever. And I think he fought through it and did a great job. It was a fun game to watch.
It was. And another guy I drafted in fantasy was Drake London. He hasn't had too many highlight reel moments so far with really uneven quarterback play, but he did get the game-winning touchdown there. Saquon had 95 on the day because he had an incredible week one. We'll see. I don't think it's the same Eagles team, but they still have something.
Let me just tell you, when Michael Penix steps in for Kirk Cousins at some point this year, and it's almost certain that he will, start every Falcons receiver that you have, because that ball will be zipping all over the place. And let
me just say, it's not like Cousins didn't get the ball to Justin Jefferson a ton last year.
Yeah,
they went off in this game. He was 20-29, 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, Kirk isn't a super liability. It's just maybe his ceiling isn't super high.
Yeah, and I mean Penix though, you actually have to see this guy throw the ball live, like I did last year in the last Pac-12 championship game ever played here at Allegiant Stadium. The ball just comes off his shoulder like you wouldn't believe.
Like a rocket, like a laser beam.
It's like he's got a rocket launcher attached to his left shoulder. It's just incredible. All right. Last week's picks. Hey, you came back, Brian. How'd it go?
Well, look, I was 8-8 in week 1, and guess what? I was 8-8 in week 2. I am 16 for 16 on the season. I'm guessing you might be doing better than that, but we'll find out in a second. I guess.
Back to 500.
Yeah, anyway. I know. So I guess I'll tear through these first, and then we'll get to yours, right?
All right.
Oh gosh, Chicago, Indy. Indy is due. I'm picking the Colts at home. Tampa Bay, Denver, Baker touchdown makers, getting that one. Green Bay, Tennessee. I like how that kind of rhymes. Is Tennessee due for one? Jordan Love might come back. Let's go ahead and say Levis gets it together. He makes one fewer dumb play and one more good play. Let's just say they're due. Houston. Oh, geez. Houston at Minnesota. Wow. I'm going with Houston, but barely. I want to pick the Vikings here. You know what? I'm picking the Vikings. I talked myself out of it.
All right.
Vikings it is. Oh, Pittsburgh and Chargers. Pittsburgh's finally exposed. They're not able to escape this one. New York at Cleveland. I'm going Cleveland because I always go Cleveland. Saints in Philly. In New Orleans. Going with trends. I'm going to say the Saints are better than we thought they were. I'm going to go ahead and pick them at home to beat the Eagles. Carolina, Vegas. I'm going Vegas. Miami, Seattle. Miami's without a quarterback now. I'm going to pick your Geno Warriors over there. So Geno and your tribe. Baltimore, Dallas. I think we get week 1 Dallas, and I think Baltimore continues to be snake bitten, 0-3. Detroit at Arizona. Oh, geez, here's another tough one.
Yeah,
I think Detroit bounces back. I think Detroit bounces back. I think they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth. They got humbled a little bit. Arizona's going to come out feisty, but Aiden Hutchinson and the boys, they're going to stop them. They're going to slow them down enough. But I would expect maybe some high scoring in this. San Francisco is going to beat the Rams. You never count a well-coached team out, but I will in this case because San Francisco's licking their wounds last week as well.
Yeah.
Kansas City, Atlanta. Goodness. Could I dare pick against the Golden Boy Chiefs? I'm going to skip that and pick Buffalo down here because Jacksonville is just not on the same level. The Bills are tight. Cincinnati, they're due for one. I'm picking them over the Commanders. Kirk Cousins and the late game magic. Kansas City has not looked good all year, but they are 2-0. I'll pick the Falcons at home. Why not? Going Falcons at home. So those are my picks, Mike.
All right. That's interesting stuff. I like that.
Maybe you're understanding in real time why I'm 8-8 and I'm not doing better than.
No, I mean, I agreed with most of them. Either we're only going to have a couple different ones. I think this one. Okay, so week two, I went 8-8 after going 12-4 the first week. I'm 20-12 for the season. Not too bad. I tied you
in week 2. We were both 8-8 last week.
Yeah, so we were about the same. So now we're going to flip it forward to week 3, and we got New England and New York. I'm going with the Jets tonight. There's something about this game. My friend Jim, who's a bettor, what did he say about it? I forget, but he gave me all these reasons, like teams that are in the Jets situation are 23-4 or something on Thursday night. So I'm going with the Jets. Bears, Colts. I think the Colts at home are going to handle the Bears. I think Caleb Williams' education continues. I don't see them winning on the road. Denver at Tampa Bay. You got to go with Baker and the Broncos. Bo Nix just has had a really rough start to his career, but I still believe in him. Think he's a good player. Packers and Tennessee. I'm with you. Tennessee needs a win. I think Will Levis handles it better. You got to be impressed by the Packers winning last week at home, but it was at home. Now they have to go on the road. I think it's a tougher game. Houston and Minnesota, 2-2-0 teams. How do we pick that game? I think Houston's the better football team.
I think they are too, but there's some magic.
The Vikings are at home. If this game was in Houston, I'd pick Houston. At home, I don't know. Who did you pick, Houston or the Vikings?
I'll tell you once you pick.
But I'm picking the Vikings because I was impressed by last week.
They have like a well-rounded effort, and they've been consistent. Why wouldn't they stay consistent?
I think they're a well-coached team. Chargers and Steelers, 2 teams I just don't think are that good. And by the way, Steelers, when the hell are you going to put your logo? Talk to me when you can put a logo on both sides of your stupid helmet. Okay, that's retarded. The Steelers are at home.
Has no logo at all, so we are logo-less. So
but that's the Browns look.
Penn State style, nothing. Just
okay. I don't know about the Chargers logistics. I don't like picking West Coast teams at 10 a.m., but I just don't like the Steelers enough on the assumption that Justin Fields is a starter. I think the Chargers have enough offense to barely get it done and sneak that one out. New York at Cleveland. New York is terrible. Cleveland goes to 2-1. Philadelphia, New Orleans. You got to go with the trends. The Saints have played great for 2 weeks in a row. They're back at home. Derek Carr. You got to go with that game. Carolina at Las Vegas. Again, easy selection. Until Carolina wins, I'm not picking them. Miami without Tua coming to Seattle on the road all the way across the country. Although I think my Seahawks have some things that have got to be corrected, I think we go to 3-0. That's been I've been looking at this game saying 3-0 all along. Baltimore and Dallas. I think you picked the Cowboys. I am going to be a contrarian here. I don't think the Cowboys are paper tigers. I don't think they're that good. I think the really, really desperate Baltimore Ravens are going to come in and be very physical with the Cowboys, and the Cowboys aren't going to like that much. I think the Cowboys are a finesse team. And I think that I don't think by any means they're going to get beat up the way they got beat up last week, but I think the Ravens and Lamar are going to pull it out at the last second. Detroit at Arizona. Such a tough game. Cardinals have played really well. They should have beaten the Bills. They beat the tar out of the Rams. But I agree with you. I think the Lions make a comeback. I think they're a little bit stung. They come back. 49ers, Rams. Not picking the Rams until they win. Falcons, Kansas City. I think this could be an upset. I think you could go with Kansas City, but I just don't feel it. And I think the Chiefs are going to win this one. Jacksonville and the Buffalo Bills. Jacksonville needs a win. I don't think they get it. I think Josh Allen as más macho than Trevor Lawrence. I think it's the Bills. And then Washington and Cincinnati.
One quick point about Trevor Lawrence, since you brought it up. Did you notice that it's called Everbank Stadium, but they named it Trevor Bank Stadium? I think that's the coolest thing I've ever. Like,
that's really cool. That's like
I loved it. I loved everything about it.
Look, I'm just going to say if the referees had not been involved in the last 2 trips that the Bengals took to Kansas City, it would be Burrowhead Stadium because Joe Burrow would be undefeated there. I like the Bengals. Jaden Daniels is just not good enough yet. 7 field goals are not going to beat the Bengals at home. The Bengals are going to be fired up. Those are my picks. I think it's going to be really interesting stuff. And let's see if I can maintain my lead. At this point,
you're playing prevent picking.
If I draw with you,
next week you have to pick first, and then
if I just draw with you the rest of the way, I win. So.
You're not going to slow walk me on this, Bara. Come on.
All right. So looking forward to this. Looking forward to the season starting tonight. The week starting tonight. I got the Jets, and good luck to your Browns, and we'll see how it all goes down this weekend.
Absolutely. Right? Tell people where you want them to follow you. Which for your Seahawks?
Okay. Seahawk Boy. I should actually get it up here. Seahawk Boy. Mike B on Twitter X is where you can find me. And just do a search for that. And Seahawk Boys TV on YouTube. Seahawk Boys TV on Rumble. Follow those channels, and let's do it. Let's go Hawks. Let's have a great weekend of football and enjoy ourselves tonight.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Appreciate you, Mike. To be continued. Yeah, we'll be back Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, like we always do. And please follow the Unhappy Hour. That's on X at the Unhappy Hour _ on YouTube. Look up the Unhappy Hour and the New American Media in all the places. Our Spotify podcast, the Unhappy Hour, and the Agree to Disagree show. But yeah, we'll be back in a week. I'm excited to kind of unwind and watch a game right now. It's been a long week. Let's enjoy it. Go football. Yay, football.
Gonna have a couple beers and watch some football tonight. Be mad.
Absolutely. All right. Be mad and watch some games. Appreciate you, Mike. To be continued. We'll talk to you again next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.